All right, I think we're live. Here we go. Let's. I don't know what that was. The wrong video. It's supposed to be a different video, a slightly different. Here,
Uh,
let's.
I love it. You leveling up. You
That's the intro video. I don't know. You gotta send me a Schoolio video. Anyways, everyone, we're live once again. We missed yesterday. We kind of just I'm West Coast time. You're East Coast time now. It's like a beef, Tupac, Biggie. I don't know. We're gonna West Coast, East Coast. If anyone is in their 40s would remember what we're talking about. Anyways, Justin Fox,
we're
Sathish, Bala, Sats B. What's up, buddy?
Are we on LinkedIn, Facebook? I'm gonna
Yeah,
hit
yeah,
you.
we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. It's right now live on my LinkedIn. So I'm gonna share it to my personal one, and then we can and then hold on, let me share it here, and then we can share it up all over the world. I called it what did I call it? I called it something different today.
I like the one token, one share.
Yeah, yeah, one token equals one share. Well, that's the idea, right? So it's sort of the idea is that it's NFTs are the big thing right now, but I think when people start to realize what a security token is and how it's literally the same sort of concept as an NFT, but extended even further, where now you've got the security aspect of it, right? So it's not just maybe artwork. So there's different applications for both, but with a security token, you don't even have to have the artwork. It's literally just buying shares, and then you can create the whole club kind of around it, right? So you can say, hey, if you're a shareholder, right, a token holder, you can now get access to tickets or events
Oh yeah.
or whatever it is, right? So,
So
but you also have ownership in the actual project. So, anyways, let's talk about what you're up to. Super fun. You said you're like a fraction close to getting some funding for Schoolio. Tell everyone what Schoolio is and where it's going.
Yeah, man. So Schoolio is a brand new edtech startup. Even though it's a brand new edtech startup, I've been reimagining and challenging and battling the school system forever. And I'm a byproduct of the worst of it. I'm a smart guy, but the system failed me because I was judged too early on what my strengths are because I didn't fit in. And it still continues to happen. And I think COVID and my own kids and all this stuff. And I wanted to change the narrative. I'm tired of people saying learning disabilities. There's no learning disabilities. Every child and every human being has a unique learning ability. It's the job of the system, it's the job of the parents, it's the job as educators to find what that unique ability is and then curate to that unique ability. We can't discount people and can't push them out of the ecosystem. So that's what school is about. We have this idea of a platform that we jokingly say will connect classrooms and kitchen tables, parents and educators, to a point where they're no longer battling for attention. They're both focusing on the child and the
Right.
student. And that's what I'm building, man. It's our second year. We started in the pandemic. We had a great first year. We did just under 500,000 in revenue selling
That's
books
it.
and curriculum. Um, Arguably, and unless somebody else has it, we have the only validated copy of Canadian curriculum written by parents and teachers for Canadians. And we're in Canada and across a bunch of provinces. And people that are buying our product are using it for homeschooling. They're using it for after school support. Teachers and tutors are buying it for lesson planning so they can get them time back. And right now we're only in the ebook version. So we raised a little bit of money and we got a valuation of 2 mil and raised some money, and that allowed us to beef up the team out of bootstrapping. You and I talk about bootstrapping all the time, right? I love bootstrapping and the
Right.
discipline that comes with it. So I bootstrapped far enough to get to a point where we had some good traction, which is very important. Not just PowerPoint decks, but we were able to demonstrate market fit and real revenue, which brought on Vertus Capital, our investors on board. They trusted the vision and they gave us some very important funding at a very early stage to keep building. And once we did that, we grew some more, and We're in
Right.
market with the $8 million valuation, trying to
Nice.
raise, a 2 mil round, and we're so close. We're so close, but nothing is real until you sign. But I feel good. I feel like it's coming along, and hopefully the next time we chat, we got some good news, man.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. Congrats on that. That's good luck getting that across the line.
And so much
Next
of it
time
is
we
luck,
chat, you're
man.
gonna put Schoolio on backers once we're getting that up and running. You gotta get
Baby,
the parents and the students, maybe not so much the students, but the parents invested, right? So
and
so I was going to say, so I just looked at this. I named this "Thinking Out Loud." I'll throw this as our weekly show, "Thinking Out Loud." I don't know. What are your
love it.
thoughts on that? Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I mean, every time you
TOL.
on the phone call, that's all we do for 30 minutes.
Right. It's just it's off the top. I don't know if anyone. I mean, a lot of people talk to me about scripting things. I don't script shit. Right? But anyways, so that's cool. So thinking out loud.
The other side of non-scripted conversation is you kind of have to know what you like to talk about. So there's
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff where I'm like, I just don't know what you're talking about. But things in our ecosystem around entrepreneurship and education, fundraising, like we live it every day.
So one of the things that I always I think it's kind of cool. We've talked a few times about is sort of the metaverse, and I know with Schoolio, you've been going into sort of the Schoolio verse, right? I think you've got the domain, Schoolio verse. So, and you showed me like a potential sort of like, I guess it was very early demo of kind of like the homepage or whatever, right? Have you guys been working on that, or like have you been able to advance that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just sharing it quickly with Justin. We have to tell the world because that's the kind of guys we are. So I did this my sharing, but yeah. So I like the word metaverse, but it's also so misleading now because before the metaverse there was already 3-dimensional worlds, Fortnite, Roblox,
Roblox,
Minecraft.
yeah, all that stuff,
You know that
exactly.
well. So for us, the challenge that we're embarking is there's a level of attention and learning that happens within these gamified worlds. Something as simple as like you don't have to tell a kid to keep trying to beat the boss. They will play for hours and days and look up cheat codes all on their own because they want to beat the level. They want to beat the boss, right?
Right.
So I look at that and I look at the same analogy in education where you hit a roadblock in math or language and the child stops. Why aren't they using the same attitude to fight through the boss?
Right.
Because the system is set up in a way where there's consequences for failures that they don't understand. It's a report card. Parents get involved. But in the game world, you can try 1,000 times. But the important thing is you learn in those 1,000 times how to beat that boss. And when you beat the boss, nobody remembers the 999 times you failed.
It's the one
That's what I
time.
think is beautiful, which is what we're trying to bring into the Schoolio metaverse of how can we create a 3-dimensional environment where learning and gamification naturally fits into their need to sort of keep going and keep progressing. And there's no blueprint for it. Just like when VR came out and Oculus and all this stuff, there's no blueprint for commerce. How do you shop in VR? And people figured it out. So we hope we're pioneering what I think is a blueprint for real education, transferable knowledge, and comprehension and retention in a 3-dimensional world.
In sort of your own metaverse, in the Schoolio verse. So interesting. So you talk about gamification. I mean, that's one of the things that I think a lot of people, struggle with, a lot of businesses, a lot of everyone, right? Is how do you engage with the audience to get them kind of stuck there? And stuck is a bad word, but like engaged for an extended period of time, right? Where they're going to want to see. So what are some of the ideas that, I mean, not to give away the secret sauce, but like, what are some of the things you guys are doing with Schoolio to like what is the thought around like how do you extract that desire from a kid to beat the boss or get through the question? Because I'll use an analogy. I mean, we work with developers and you work with developers every day, right? And so one of the things that I've learned, and I'm not a developer, but I can probably wreck a lot of shit, is that Google is like your best friend, right? So you talk about like looking up the cheat codes, like, just learning through kind of learning coding myself. the whole thing of like using Google as your best friend to like Google every answer you go through. I can't even think off the top of my head, but there's a site that sort of everyone kind of goes on to stack something or other, or whatever
Yeah.
it's called. Anyways, and everyone answers questions or asks questions, and there's sort of like a lot of like forums like that. What are sort of the ways that you're trying to implement that within Schoolio? Like what are
Yeah,
some
no,
of the cool things
that's a
you guys
great
are doing?
question. And a lot of it is stuff that we can't talk about yet, not because of a
It's secret
proprietary.
sauce.
It's
No,
not because of a secret sauce. Our vision with Schoolio is to open source everything we learn,
right.
right? And so people can build on top of it. We fundamentally don't know the answer yet because these questions haven't been asked. And so I look at it more from like pillars of excellence. So we want some kind of a stickiness model where they're excited to log in and just participate in learning, knowing we're not trying to deceive you, but you willingly need to say, I want to learn. So when we change the narrative from we're going to educate you to we're going to inspire learning, that narrative invites you in versus makes you feel like you're forced to take it. So
Right.
an invitational ecosystem. Number two, there's no reward for education yet with the kids because they don't understand moving from grade 1 to grade 2. It just not automatically happens, or grade 2 to grade 3, right? The incentives are not built into the way that they're used to in games. So how can we create a reward system that gives them the same feeling as beating a boss as in completing math unit 2? So
Right.
that's the second thing we're looking, that emotional state of feeling satisfied that you were able to get past something. And then the third pillar we're trying to do is this idea of self-image. How do you feel about yourself? And one way we know companies like Fortnite have really benefited from it is creating this whole avatar ecosystem where they now could level up new skins, emojis, emote dances, and all this stuff. All of these pieces allows the child to customize a version of how they feel. So how can we create an identity program where by participating, by engaging, by breaking through your apprehensions or fears, you're rewarded with something that is owned by you? And then whatever you own, how can that be the future of what's happening in the world? NFTs, smart contracts, ownership, where something you might win in grade 4 could stay with you to grade 8, 9, 10, 11 across multiple universes. So those are the pillars that we're exploring, and we're bringing in some smart people to help us think through each one of those silos. And then we're going to have a version 1 of what we think is the best blueprint, and then we're going to throw it out into our metaverse. We're going to invite parents and educators and students to experience it, and then it'll organically grow.
Interesting. So yeah, I like the open source aspect of it. So letting literally like best case or sort of best practice from everyone, right? So you're inviting them to learn. So I think that's almost like open source learning. If you could figure that one out, where like literally you're allowing people to learn in any direction, which is kind of the way people learn.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think that's the future, bro. Like when I look at the audacity of the system, that the only way my child could get core curriculum education is if I leave them at 8:45 in a classroom, and the assumption that an amazing teacher, an amazing human, has a capability and the capacity to empower 30 students every single day, and the knowledge they impart is only possible by them, and the only interaction I have as a parent is a report card. Like those models are gone. I think when we loosely joke about classrooms to kitchen tables, we really mean it. If a teacher and a parent who are equally important for the child could be connected somehow, the teacher has now insight into what the child is like at home, and the parent has an insight into how the child is learning. So we're not confusing them. How often have you and I sat with our kids and we have no idea how the teacher is teaching anything or how my son is learning something, but I'm trying to teach at home with the version I got in 1982,
right.
right? But if that's all opened up and I go, my son in class really gets it if it's a video experience, then at home I'm going to add to that. Or if the teacher finds out that my son is really into Avengers, then she can use Avengers as an analogy in explaining something to him in class that resonates with them more. But we're not connected. I've never been on a parent-teacher conference where they've said, "Tell me about your child at home. What are they like? What do they do?"
Right.
What do they do when they come home? And what are they like on the weekend? It's a, hey, here's my version of your child from class. Thank you. 15 minutes. I'm up. That's got to change. Fuck that.
Yeah. Here's short segue. I just downloaded a video from your site. It's Kinder intro ad talking head. Here, you
Yeah.
ready? You ready? You want to show that? Here we go.
Hi there, welcome to Schoolio. I'm Lindsay, I'm one of the writers at Schoolio, and I'm the author of the Schoolio Kindergarten Program. So the Schoolio Kindergarten Program is 36 weeks long, and it covers everything for your kinder in math, reading, writing, science, and social studies. This is more than another workbook for your shelf. This is a complete program, and that includes guidance for you as the teacher, like sample schedules and calendars. We have weekly themes for the whole year, and lessons to go along with the practice work. There's also assessment tools included as well. Our program has been specifically designed for our youngest learners with full color pages, engaging lessons, hands-on activities like cutouts and games, and of course, our lovable mascot, Sky, the Schoolio skunk, travels along with your learners throughout the program. With this complete program from Schoolio, we want to remove the stress and worry from parents who are maybe homeschooling for the first time or trying to support their learners at home. You won't have to wonder, are we doing enough? Are we covering everything? You can just follow along the program, learn together, have fun together, grow your bond, and know that your child is getting all the academic foundational material they need to be fully prepared for grade 1. So I hope that you choose to join our Schoolio family, and I hope that you have a wonderful kindergarten learning year.
Wow. What's playing that, man?
I'm like live production. Literally, this is producing out loud. This is like
your game stepping up, but I appreciate
Schoolio.com now though, right? Didn't you get .com?
We're moving everything over. You know, you and I have been on the game for so long, and after 20 years of being in the industry, this is the first time I've paid for an expensive domain, bro. But we needed to get it. We needed to solidify, especially since we're relaunching in the US, and .com just gives us that credibility. But Lindsay, who was in that video, my co-founder, she's the OG, man. She is an educator. She went to teachers college. She homeschools. She's the best of both worlds for me. So when I tell people, this is not about us like dogging on teachers or the public school system. This is us saying we need more options as parents. We need transparency. We need to move the curtains and let us in, because we're a part of the formula. Like, we know our kids better than anybody else. So why don't you want us on our team?
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously we both have young kids, right? So, we just moved. This is kind of interesting too. We just moved obviously from, Toronto to Vancouver. Kids just re-enrolled in a new school, slightly different setup, but very much the same idea, kindergarten and grade 3 free, respectively for our kids. But it's interesting to see how easy kids can adapt and step right in, right? And also, here there's some programs that they're doing that they weren't doing back in Toronto. But like you said, there's really no involvement. And so as a parent, you want to be involved in their education. And I think a program like Schoolio, where you can have that added benefit and then maybe allow for the integration of what's done at school, what's done at home, and that communication between the two, I think is huge. And I think as parents, we're always just learning. I mean, you probably ruined your first one. The second one's getting the best, and if you have a third, I mean, they're doing well. But I'm speaking for myself. I joke with ruined, but it's a steep learning curve with the first one, right?
100%. And there's no blueprint for being a parent.
Yeah.
And there's no blueprint for being an educational support for your kids. And most of us, and I'm in my 40s now, the blueprint I have from my experience isn't healthy, man. Like, it's not a good blueprint, And so when I look at like the future of this thing, I imagine a situation or an environment where, how cool is it? Like, my child goes to school, does an amazing job with the teacher. I can log in the same night and kind of see what's going on, and I can leave some notes for the teacher on what I'm seeing, and I can add to the content from what I'm seeing. My kid will resonate. I think it empowers everybody when we approach student learning not from a position of I'm going to do this, but what can we do together? And that's
Exactly,
what we're
collaboration. So I think this, I mean, I don't know how far your thought has gone in this, but I'm going to throw this out to you. What if, like, so obviously decentralized, we're talking about, this whole sort of metaverse, all these, you talk about crypto, you talk about all these different things, the decentralization of social media, right? Where now everyone's got their own sort of power and control over their own data, their own things. What if you could create sort of a decentralized learning program where, and you talk about that open source where everyone's contributing from a sort of content, but everyone also has the ability to explore said content contributed by everyone. So now it almost becomes that, you talk about it takes a village to raise a kid. Now it's your contributions, my contributions, any other parent's contribution. Maybe you keep it within a geographical region, but you could have everyone, imagine all grade 3 parents. I think you have grade 3 as well, right? Or 4?
Yeah, I have a grade 3 and a grade 9. So.
Right. So imagine every grade 3 parent in all of Canada could contribute to an open source learning, and every grade 3 is participating it, and all grade 3 teachers are participating it. And it's all this sort of like decentralized learning where now everyone, is kind of contributing and participating, and you've got that gamification, almost like a DAO of learning, right? And everyone's, I don't know. That's
I love that.
That's Schoolio 2.0.
Well, I think that is the future of education.
Right.
That's forget even the word education. It feels very like top down. That's the future of collaborative learning.
Of learning, right? Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? And learning is collaborative today. Like, my daughter yesterday taught me how to take 2 of my own videos, take audio from one, overlay it on another video in TikTok.
Yeah.
He taught me how to do it, bro. So it's collaborative learning. And when she's stuck, I've seen her look at a transition on somebody else's video, cold message that person and say, hey, I love your transition. Can you teach me how you did it? And they will do it. And they will teach, right? And we come from a world where we're like, I don't know, I'm afraid to cold call this person or cold email this person. What if they don't respond back? The generation that's coming up is already deeply vested in collaborative learning. Shame on us if we're getting their way. So this version you're talking about is the future. It's going to happen in spite of us. All we're trying to do is play a part in helping it shape. And, in many ways, I tell my team, we act like an operating system. I use Apple all the time, right? It's a core operating system. Anybody can build an app for an iOS, but they have a level of quality assurance to ensure that when I go download an app, somebody's vetted it. So I look at it the same way, where we're going to have an open platform that's collaborative, but our team promises to make sure every piece of content that goes online has been vetted for the right age, the right content, and the right demographic, so that as a parent, you have a better trust that whatever they're exposed to has got value. So we become curators in an open source market in the next 5 to 10 years. But I love your vision of there's no reason why my child in Ajax, Ontario can't learn and be inspired by an educator in Egypt.
Yeah, or global. I mean, you can be global for sure. I mean, I said why, Canada-wide, but yeah.
Yeah, and there's no reason why a passionate child in the slums of Mumbai can't get the same quality of education Shaquille's getting in Ajax. And 10 years ago, it was maybe impossible. 5 years ago, difficult. COVID has showed now it's possible. So
yeah, I mean, we're yeah, exactly. Yeah, the technology's there. I mean, if we can collaborate, so cool. Well, I know you got to bounce. What do you want to talk about?
I wanted you to break down something, because when you opened the show, you talked about tokens and you talked about shares. And maybe some of the listeners like me, I can't visualize it. So if you use an example like Desi Fest, I've got a music festival and hundreds of thousands of artists that we work with. Can you give me and anybody watching a real life example? Like, how does it work when a token and an NFT and the DAOs, like everything is so high level that I can't visualize, and probably a lot of us can't visualize. So give me a concrete example.
A concrete example of a token?
Yeah,
so,
and
essentially a token is, it says the what's that?
Like the security token and the NFTs, like how does it actually work? Like if I'm a restaurant, or if I'm a bar, or I'm an education company, I'm a sports team, how do I actually put this into action?
So so NFTs, security tokens, sort of two sides of the same token, at least in my opinion, or the same coin. So you've got cryptocurrency is essentially what everyone's familiar with, the Bitcoin, right? And it arguably, they were ICOs, initial coin offerings. People created them. Usually they were ERC20, so Ethereum based tokens using the Ethereum blockchain. So they had potentially some sort of code in the smart contract that gave them, various parameters of how they acted. But for the most part, they were just open, freely tradable ERC20 tokens on any kind of exchange that would facilitate that, right? So you start getting into sort of Binance or Kraken or KuCoin or whoever. And then people issued those tokens, or right, and they represented usually nothing. There was a lot of sort of vapor, and that was the biggest concern with you look at rug pulls. The biggest concern with cryptocurrencies is there's no asset that's actually backing it, right?
Yeah.
So the next step, the next evolution was presumably either NFTs or security tokens. An NFT is a non-fungible token, so it's unique. So it's not fungible, whereas fungible meaning every token is interchangeable, right? So, in the case of a security token, they are fungible tokens, essentially FTs, in that they're interchangeable. Bitcoin would be fungible in that my Bitcoin and your Bitcoin are interchangeable. You don't care which Bitcoin you have; they're identical in that sense. As far as NFTs though, so non-fungible tokens, they typically represent one, or there's one token. It's unique. There is no other token just like it. And what a lot of people have done is they've used it in typically a non-regulated fashion to represent art. It can represent anything actually. ID,
like this hat.
It can represent, you could have like an image of the hat, or ownership certificate, let's say, of the hat. So you can get into like deeds of a house. You can get into, there's all kinds of ways that, and now deeds of a house are starting to get maybe a little bit, depending on how you trade it.
Version one of something.
Yeah, exactly. It could represent your ID. Like you talk about, people are talking about IDs, like everything could be on the blockchain, your driver's license, your birth certificate, your marriage license, your whatever, right? Like your university, diploma, degree, whatever you want to call it, right? Everything can be tokenized. So now you get into the what do you call it? The Smart 8 Monkey Club group, kitty, cat, whatever, right? All the different clubs, right? Bored Apes Yacht Club, right? So those represent more so, not so much the art. The art's cool-ish, but it's really you're part of a club that now, and I'm not up on what Bored Ape Yacht Clubs do, but they presumably get access to yacht clubs or to the community, right? To go on events and do different things. Justin Bieber just paid $500,000 for one, right? So like that it's more about the functionality, right, of what you get by holding the token. Now, some people are investing in the tokens thinking the price is going to go up, or the artwork. You get into things like Top Shots, NBA Top Shots. So it represents one-to-one that piece of artwork or that collectible. The difference with a security token and an NFT is, in my opinion, the security token takes it one step further, where now it's not just representing, say, an artwork or a JPEG or a ticket into an event, whatever, right? It now represents one share in that company. So now it's a regulated security token. Previously, it would be a PDF in your lawyer's office, or on digitally represented somewhere, or back in the day it would be literally a certificate on the wall, or maybe you didn't put it on the wall. I reference that, the Green Bay Packers model, where fans all had their one share on the wall. It's now a digital representation on the blockchain of that share, right? So one token equals one share. And the cool thing is you can now have one share, which is one token, or 1,000 shares, 1,000 tokens, and then the owner of that company. So you've talked about sports teams, other entities, whether it's restaurants, clubs, anything. You talk about your musical festival. They can now, fans of that, or participants, or users, or customers, clients, whoever, the community can now own the actual entity. So let's say DesiFest Inc. I don't know what it's called. They can have shares in DesiFest Inc. And you can also create a club around share ownership. So
Ah,
now you can say things like, just like an NFT, you can say, if you own a token, you own a share, you also get 50% off
right.
merchandise, for example,
When
or
you use the
you get
word
access.
supposedly, when you say shares and token, like, I'm used to, raising money from public market. So if I
Yeah,
were to say, hey, we want, in addition to, capital investment from, in sort of investors, we want our customers to buy into our company if they can at a smaller value. Would I now, is it the same as shares and equity, or is it
it's
tokens are
equity.
different?
They're exact same. So they represent the equity. They
Mm,
represent the actual shares. So with backers, what we're attempting to do here is, and we're sort of at the forefront in Canada, probably in North America from a regulatory perspective, is we're actually, in my opinion, eliminating or bringing in, so call it private is the new public. So you've got
yeah.
an IPO, right? You go public, now retail investors can invest in your, in your stock. With what we're doing, private companies can now use existing regulations, different ones, different provinces, can raise up to 1.5 under the startup exemption. They can raise, sort of, the sky's the limit under the OM exemption from retail investors. So on our platform, an
Mm,
investor can go out and raise as little as, invest as little as $100, and the issuer
right.
can raise, up to 1.5, as I said, the one exemption, and sky's the limit, with some of the other exemptions. And it doesn't preclude institutional or accredited or any other type of investor. You're basically taking, in our example, your class B non-voting shares, let's say, and you're tokenizing them, every one of them.
And
So
in my world, as a real example, because we're thinking out loud, ha.
yeah,
Uh,
that's
if we did our next raise and get that sort of investor money in, we can now say, hey, backers, I want to raise another $500,000, but I want that to be a retail investment. We want customers the ability to buy into our product at 300-400. And if you're buying, Schoolio bundle for, let's say, $350, you can now buy for $500, which includes a token. Is that
yeah.
kind of what you're saying?
So you can do both. You can do all of the above. So I call it upsell with equity. So one of the things we look at and advise people is, you say, okay, you've got a product. A lot of people are going to use like Kickstarter. So they'll use the example Kickstarter. Kickstarter is a pre-sale of a product, right? I want to build this. It's going to take me a year, but I need 100,000. So I'm going to sell 1,000 units of them at $100 each, or whatever the cost is, right? Now I just get that product. But if I were to say, hey, you can buy our product now, which you can do for whatever, $350, and you say, hey, for an extra $100, you can actually buy 100 tokens of, Schoolio, right? And you're now a shareholder. So you now can say to your customer, upsell with equity. So you now get, and we use, from a marketing perspective, you can almost double your, and this is where you got cost of customer acquisition costs. You get, the lifetime value of a customer. You can now increase the value of that customer and engage them more, because now not only are they a user or a client, or in your case, a student, who's paid $350 for the year or month or whatever it is, they now are an investor, and they're actually invested in your business, and
Hmm.
they own shares in your business. And then you can say, all shareholders get 10% off if you buy this, new edition of whatever. Or I think I've seen things where you've got like, sort of like seasonal themed, Christmas or Halloween sort of like themed content, right? So it's like, hey, we've got this themed content coming out. You get a 50% discount as a shareholder. And the
Yeah, I
token
love
is a
that.
shareholder.
Yeah,
It's
and I love that.
literally, yeah,
That's
it's literally like going public, but we call it an IBO,
I
initial
love that.
backers offering.
That's one of the roadmaps we're putting in place, where customers that are repeat customers, and
Yeah,
we've got at least a 30% of our market base right now continues to buy additional products from us. So we were just brainstorming and said, hey, if somebody's going to spend $1,000 with us over a course of a year or two, that's a pretty significant educational investment. So those people are really important for us, not just because they're a customer, but
yeah,
they've got enough products where they can become advocates and also advisory.
exactly.
So what if we said, if you get to 1,000, maybe making it up 2,000, then for a short amount of time, you can opt into the company with an
Yeah,
incremental purchase. And that gives you access to the Schoolio inside track, where you get exposed to new ideas before they launch. You get discounts, you get first seats at events we're organizing, and sort of build that membership model, but with an equity stake in it. So I feel like
Exactly.
what you're building, what I'm building, there's a nice crossroad coming up.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's definitely, I mean, I see this in all walks of life. Like I've been sort of trying to say to people, I think everything's going to be tokenized. Like literally NFTs are exposing people to it, but the real kind of like depth of where you can get into, and I think what you were talking about earlier, this sort of, and I mentioned sort of the decentralization, where the contribution aspect, right? So now you can give shareholders almost like, sort of voting is sort of the one thing, but like actual control over maybe the direction of where the platform goes, right? So you can literally say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're thinking, or hey, give us your thoughts on what we should be thinking and let's vote on it as a whole. So now you can take the shareholders and engage them even more, right? And kind of bring them in. Yeah. And it doesn't just have to be the retail investor, right? Like it can be any type of investor. This is where it's not precluded just the small investors. You can literally tokenize 100% of your equity, right?
Wow.
And literally have everything tokenized. You can have one class of your equity tokenized, and really, it becomes this like engagement,
Yeah, no, that's
tool,
what I love,
right? Where you're now, I mean, we're working with a couple like not-for-profit or sort of like social enterprises where they're, looking at, DAO systems where, they can bring in all of their members and different people, or, we've got community organizations where they're looking at doing different things. So there's a lot of kind of use cases that people are now just starting to see that the blockchain aspect and the smart contract aspect just facilitates that trustless factor and that like ease of communication between one another, where it's all on the blockchain. So now we can go back 6 months later and be like, hey, we talked about this. We all voted on this. This is where the direction we went. Maybe it was wrong. Maybe it was right. But now this is where we're going to go this way. And so you can kind of see things evolve that way.
I love that,
mean, I think as the world, they say right now, the world has about 100 million, roughly 100 million people that are involved in blockchain crypto. And it's probably growing daily. The projection is over the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to have over 1 billion. So you're going to see like mass adoption. You're going to you talk about the CBDCs, right? The central bank digital currencies and whatnot. You're going to see mass adoption where people are starting to get into crypto and into blockchain technology without them even knowing. It's not just crypto. Everyone's like crypto. Crypto is like what it will be. I'd say 90% of them will go away, maybe more. And I'm not the first to say that. Many people have said that, but it's sort of like this, evolution of the technology of blockchain and what it can do to, facilitate the transactions, right? So
listen, we started the show with the East Coast, West Coast beef, but I feel like it's going to be East Coast, West Coast love.
Love, exactly. All love, for sure. We got to do it again next Friday. Let's do it. We're going to do it Fridays. What thoughts out loud, Sathish, Justin? Any final words you want to give to anyone?
No, man. I think if you're watching this on a rerun, comment below. Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch, get in touch. But I think part of this thinking out loud idea is we're just sharing a bunch of thought starters. And if any of this interests you and want to get to know us, just get in touch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the ideas and this is where I think I'd love to see, and I've got some ideas. I mentioned them sort of to you before, the play to earn concept, right? So like this is maybe like learn to earn.
Yeah.
Like that concept, like almost like you're talking about like beating the boss, like learn to earn, right? So when you say earn, like you maybe get sort of like the tokens back and that sort of like DAO concept, right?
And the funny part is that when I explain to people that the idea of learn to earn and gamification education, it's foreign to folks that are not paying attention to what the kids are doing.
Right.
So like my buddy today, my son spends every minute of every weekend managing virtual restaurants and Roblox to earn currency, to pimp his avatar out. And I don't have to tell him to do it. He just
wants to. Yeah.
Because he's interested in it. And we're going to ride that wave as long as we can as parents and make sure we supplement it with, lessons around real life, HR, hiring practices, learning how to interior decorate. These are all things that are part of his ecosystem that he's learning without knowing what those things are. And that's the beauty of collaborative learning. And, thinking out loud is another way we're learning together. And so I love it. We're back next Friday for sure.
Awesome. We're going to do our one last. There you go. That's it. 1 token equals 1 share. It could equal anything, but I just made that shit up. I create those videos, but it's fun times. Anyways, Sathish, everyone else, Toronto, Vancouver, peace.
Thank you.
We out. All right, later.